Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Andrew, your guide to QuickBooks for real estate investors. I just recorded a video about tax settings for a vendor, and I realized that I should probably do another video about 1099s and how to do those in QuickBooks. I kind of skipped over that, and it's another video in itself, so here it is. I'm going to go over how to set up 1099s, a little bit more detail about the thresholds, what that means, mapping your accounts, so everything works well at the end of the year. This is going to be part 13 of our video series, which is using QuickBooks for real estate investors. If you're just joining us, there are plenty of other parts before and after where you can find, hopefully, what you're looking for. So let's jump into it without further ado. I'm going to back out so you can see where I started from. I'm going to close everything. I'm going to start from a fresh blank QuickBooks screen, and I'm going to go up here to Edit and then Preferences. This Preferences window opens, and you might have to scroll down to see it, but there's a section in the left pane called Tax. Colon 1099. I'm going to select Tax 1099, and then I'm going to go to the Company Preferences tab at the top. In that video 12C, I already turned on this preference, so I do file 1099 forms for my contractors, and I skipped over these two options here. If I wanted to map my accounts to boxes on Form 1099, if you've ever seen a 1099, you know that there are different places you can put payments to contractors, different boxes. I think it's 1 through 12 maybe. And then this section here, if you're ready to prepare your 1099s, including mapping accounts, click here. So I'm going to start at the first option here, mapping my accounts. And this brings up the window that I started this video with, map vendor payment accounts. And I was messing around here, and then I was able to show the IRS filing thresholds. So there's this button or blue text here at the bottom right, just above Save and Close. It says Show IRS 1099 Filing Thresholds. And I had told you in Part 12C that $600 was the threshold, which is correct. And then I couldn't remember if there were other thresholds or not, and I said 2,000 or 2,500. I was wrong. I was thinking about this box here, box 9, direct sales. Generally, if you're paying a plumber, if you're paying a drywaller, if you're paying a tree removal guy, a painter, you know, a college kid to help you do work, and you 1099 them, you're going to do box 7, which is non-employee compensation. And that threshold is $600. This is going to fall into this box 7 sort of as a collection, pretty much everything besides these other very specific accounts such as medical payments, fishing boat proceeds, federal tax withheld, those types of things are pretty specific, royalties, other income, rents. So box 7 is where you put your contractor, all your contractors, pretty much. You'll notice that some of the thresholds are 0. So if you were collecting fishing boat proceeds, then you would always file a 1099. But for most contractors, you've got to get over $600 to file a 1099. So if you hire a college kid or some guy to help you paint the interior of your apartment, and it's a one-time thing, and you pay him $599, you do not have to send that person a 1099. But as soon as you pay him $600 or more, you do have to send that person a 1099. So when they file their taxes, the IRS will know that they should be paying tax on what you've paid them, because they don't pay any tax, you don't withhold any tax. That's the whole idea of a 1099. Okay. So this is just a good informative box here. Look at that. I clicked Reset to IRS Thresholds, and apparently you can change these. So that's interesting. So you can change the thresholds, which I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can. So somehow these had gotten changed. So this, say, medical payments, I can delete that, and I can put 0 in there, and then it gives me this red text here that says your settings do not match the current IRS thresholds. So I can click reset to IRS thresholds and it will fix that. Notice that box 7, $600 didn't change. That's what we're going to be working with. So, okay, save and close. We're going to get out of there. That's fine. We fixed our IRS thresholds so they match what the IRS says. We're good to go. This is what I want to focus on. Okay, in our chart of accounts, if you remember, we have various expense accounts for when we pay people. When we give other people money, we expense that. We put that into an expense account. And for some people, they want to collect all of their contractors in one expense account. So that account is what we would use for our 1099, which means that when QuickBooks prepares 1099s, it's going to look to the particular expense accounts that we indicate here and then decipher who has passed that $600 threshold. Okay, so right now we've got only professional fees is showing, is because that's the only account thus far in this video tutorial series that I've written any sort of a check to. But if you have written multiple checks, say you've paid some vendors already, some contractors, then those accounts will show up here. And I'm just going to refresh you with our chart of accounts here so you can see what we've got going on. And I don't think we have a contractor's expense. Here are all of our expense accounts. And I'm going to do a quick look. It doesn't look like we've got a contractor expense, so we could add that account if we wanted to. And generally, professional fees are going to be companies. So if you're paying a company, if you pay a law firm, that you're not 1099 that law firm. If you pay a property management fee or property management company, you're not going to give that company a 1099 because they are a legal entity. You only do this with really independent, just individuals or groups of individuals, I guess. But you're hiring this person to contract for you. You're not hiring them as a company, if that makes sense. So what I do, and when I go to visit clients, I am a 1099 independent contractor. They just pay me. They don't pay my company. So if you're paying a tree service company, then you're not going to 1099 that company. It's a little confusing because you might sign a contract with a pest control company to come out on a monthly basis to treat for pests. Even though you signed a contract, they are not a contractor. Well, they are in a legal sense, but they're not for a tax sense. It's only a contractor is when you bring on an individual, and you are not withholding any taxes from that individual. So that's kind of a long-winded explanation, but most likely, if you have a professional fee, you're going to be paying a law firm. You could pay an independent accountant or an independent lawyer, which might be where you would have this example of professional fees. So to make this more clear, I'm going to go back to our chart of accounts, and I'm going to make a new account. It's an expense account. I'm going to do this quickly. If you need help with the income and expense accounts, see the other video in this series. I'm going to call this contract labor. I'm going to skip everything else. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to come back here to this drop down box, and I'm going to say show all accounts. And there's a whole lot of accounts here. We don't want to mess around with anything except an expense account. And I called that contract labor. I'm going to select contract labor, and then I'm going to say box 7. Okay. So what I did is I went to show all accounts, which brings up my entire chart of accounts. I scrolled down to contract labor, which when I pay a painter or some other person that I've hired to do work for me, I will put their wages here. You can call it something else if you like, but contract labor is pretty good. And then I've come down and I've changed it from omit these payments to box 7. So anything that goes into here, if it meets the threshold, which QuickBooks will sort out for you, it will go to box 7. Okay? I don't want to check this box, report all payments in box 7, because that changes all of my accounts. See that? That I don't want everything to, I don't want all these accounts to go to box 7. I only want contract labor, just this one expense account, to go to box 7. And I don't actually want my professional fees, so this is correct, because my professional fees right now are companies. So contract labor is what I want to select. Alright, that's good. I'm going to click Save and Close. You can always, if you've got sub-accounts for contract labor, if you've got other accounts that you want to use that you want to map to box 7, then you can do that here, but really, to keep it simple, stupid, I'm just going to keep it contract labor. So save and close. Enough on that. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm going to go back to Edit and go back into Preferences and then Company. If you want to change your accounts mapping, you can always come back here and click here. Before I do this, I'm going to do a sample. I'm going to do a sample check. This is turning into a really long video, but bear with me. So I'm going to say that I paid somebody. I'm going to do this quickly because I've already been over how to do this. So I'm going to say Barry Sanders is a vendor, and I paid him $550 as a contractor to do painting unit number 2, 333 Hillcrest. Okay, something like that. I'm gonna hit Control Enter, save and new. I'm gonna pay to the order of Cheryl. How do you spell her name? Cheryl Sandberg. I hired her to do some painting for me, and I paid her $695. She's a contractor, so I'm selecting contract labor for my expense accounts, and I'm going to say painting unit number 3 at 333 Hillcrest. Save and new, and I'm going to hit escape. Okay, so I just did that for example's sake, and you'll see what I mean when I come back into here. So, okay, sorry, that was a little quick for you. So, Edit, Preferences, Tax, Company Preferences. If you're ready to prepare your 1099s, including mapping accounts, click here. Okay, so we're ready to prepare. It's the end of the year. We know we need to send out some we need to send out some 1099s. We don't necessarily know who yet because we haven't kept track of it. We've used QuickBooks to keep track of that for us, and this is going to be really powerful. Okay, so I clicked on that link there, and this, you just ignore this. I'm not going to go over this. I'm going to click Get Started, and then it's going to say, hey, who are your 1099 vendors? And you're going to notice that right away it says, hey, Dewey, Cheatham & Howe is a 1099 vendor. Why is that? They're a company. They shouldn't be like that. Well, I set them up in Part 12C when I was doing tax settings. I said they're eligible for a 1099. So if I have this box checked, vendor eligible for 1099, then when I go to create my 1099s, it's automatically going to say, hey, this is a 1099 contractor. You need to send them a 1099, which is very, very useful because when where am I going here? When you first hire a contractor, or if you know that they're going to do some work for you and you're going to retain them, say, for a year, you can pretty much guess that they're going to have over $600. You just check this check mark, and you won't have to deal with it later, right? So I'm just going to enter in some sample data here for Barry Sanders and Cheryl Sandberg. What's going on here? My computer's going a little slow. All I'm doing is I'm just entering in their social security numbers, and I'm selecting vendor eligible for 1099. And then I'm going to go back to Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, and I'm going to remove this information. I don't need their vendor tax ID, and they're not eligible for 1099. So I'm going to clear that out of there. And now you can see that, hey, this has changed. Now Barry Sanders and Cheryl Sandberg are selected. The account used is contract labor. We know that they are 1099s, and we're going to click continue. So we've already got their tax ID. We could type in their company name, first name, last name, and their phone if you wanted to, and their address. Normally, if I had done this detailed, if I had done this thoroughly with my vendors, and I had entered in an address for Cheryl and Barry, it would show up. So Cheryl Sandberg 123 Sample Street, Sample Town, Ohio 4599. Okay. There it is, right? I just added that in my vendor information, and now it has pulled through and showed. So that's why it's really important to be detailed about adding vendors. So for example's sake, I'm going to continue. We've already done this. We did this in the first part. We mapped our payment accounts, so I'm going to click continue. Okay. This probably won't apply, but if you've given somebody a debit card, a gift card for exchange of services, then you would need to exclude those from the 1099. I'm going to skip this for now because this doesn't apply to most folks. And this is confirming 1099 entries. So what do I? I know why. Okay. So this 2012. Because I'm in 2013. It wants to print these for 2012. So if I say continue, that's why there's no vendors here. But if I say continue and then I say print 1099s, it says the date range is from last year, right? So if I say this calendar year, I wonder what will happen. Look at that. Okay. I'll just go back and do that again. So the reason why there is no data here is because the QuickBooks thinks I'm printing these for 2012. Because 2013 has not ended yet, it says, hey, you're not ready to do this, you got to wait till 2013's over. But I say, okay, that's fine, I'm going to continue anyway, and then I'm going to print my 1099s, and I'm going to select, instead of last calendar year, I'm going to select this calendar year, and I'm going to click OK. And then I can see that Cheryl Sandberg needs a 1099 because she was over the threshold. If you notice, Barry Sanders is not on here because I only wrote a check to him for $550. So QuickBooks automatically sorted and knew which vendors needed 1099s because we mapped that account and because we selected the vendor as eligible for a 1099 in the Vendor Center under the Edit Vendor window. Okay, so I can preview this 1099, and I'll pull this over here for you. Where is it? Where did it go? There we go. And the reason this doesn't have any formatting is because the IRS is the only source for blank 1099 forms, so you'd have to get those from the IRS. But this is formatted correctly, so when you put the IRS forms in your printer, this will print to the correct boxes. So you can see that, look at here, there's my address, my company address. Here's Cheryl's social, the total amount that she was paid, which will go to box 7, her address, and you're ready to go. So that's super easy, but the hard part is making sure that you collect relevant data from your vendors, which includes their social security number or their tax ID number, and you are detailed with the data entry you do in the vendor center. So you're detailed with the address data and the name up front, so that when you come to print these 1099s come tax time, you're not rushing and scrambling to try to get this done and calling these vendors. So I'm going to click cancel. You can e-file. I have not done that with QuickBooks, but it does cost money. So you can see here, fees apply. So it's easy to order forms from the IRS and then print them and then mail those out to your contractors. So I'm going to hit save and close. It thinks that I'm done, so I don't need to do anything else. But I did want to show you that report that I mentioned, I think at the start of this video, or maybe in part 12C, that shows each contractor and how much you've paid them. Each contractor that's eligible for a 1099. So I'm going to see if I can't find that, and it might be hidden. So just there it is, vendors and payables. Okay, I don't think that the option, these two reports were available before, because my settings were such that, my preferences were such that I did not want to send out 1099s to my contractors. So if you remember, I was in Edit, Preferences, Tax, 1099, Company, do I file? I select No, I select OK. Reports, Vendors, look, it's gone. So I have to go up here to Edit, and then Preferences, Tax, 1099, Company Preferences, yes. OK, Reports, Vendors and Payables, there it is. 1099 Summary and 1099 Detail. So if I go to, I went to 1099 Summary, and I can see quickly that Cheryl Sandberg is going to be paid, or is going to receive a 1099 because she's over the threshold, but Barry Sanders is not. So that's a very quick way to do that. You have some options here. You can select all vendors if you like, only 1099 vendors, all allowed accounts, only 1099 accounts, and use thresholds or ignore thresholds. So if you left these the same, 1099 vendors, 1099 accounts, and ignore thresholds, you would see that, oh, Barry Sanders here, he was paid $550, but that's below the threshold. So if I use threshold, then you can see that his box 7 1099 is going to be 0, or he's not going to get a 1099. Let's see what the detail. I don't think the detail is going to be that much different because we don't have that many transactions. So okay, yeah, the detail would break down each transaction. So if I had more than one check here for Cheryl Sandberg, then it would show all of those checks. You can see here the memo, the account it went to, the split, the original amount. So it's a little bit more detailed. But those are powerful reports for you to see quickly during the year, maybe if you need to, who you're going to be sending out your 1099s to. Alright, this was a super long video. If you're with me to this point, I really thank you for watching. I hope that's been helpful. Leave me a comment. Let me know if that helped you out. If I missed something, leave me a comment. If there's something you're still unaware about or you need help with, let me know. You can always shoot me an email too and let me know what your troubles are, and I'll try to do a video about it. Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Let me know how I did. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was super long. I'll try not to do that in the future, and we'll see you next time.